My son's teacher accused him of lying when he said his father worked at NASA, but what happened at parents' night left her speechless. Even though a few days have passed, I'm still trying to process it. My son is in 4th grade at Willow Creek Elementary in Boulder, Colorado. Since he was a toddler, he has been fascinated by space. He used to sit with me on our porch at night, wrapped in a blanket with a flashlight in hand, asking endless questions about the stars, the moon, and what it would be like to walk on Mars. As soon as he discovered NASA, his curiosity skyrocketed. He became captivated by missions, rovers, and satellites, talking about them with such excitement that it reminded me daily how lucky I am to be his dad. For context, I've been with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory for nearly 15 years as part of the propulsion engineering team that develops systems for deep space robotic missions. It's not glamorous to most people, but I love what I do. It's challenging, intricate, and deeply rewarding. While we don't wear astronaut suits, the technology we create reaches places no human ever has, and my son has always taken pride in that. He enthusiastically shares it with friends, teachers, anyone who will listen. So when he came home quiet and withdrawn last month, my wife and I knew something was wrong. Over dinner, we asked how school was, and he just shrugged, a red flag on its own. With some gentle prompting, he finally muttered, "Mrs. Daniel said I was making things up." I looked up from my plate. "Making what up?" I asked. He hesitated, pushing peas around his plate before whispering, barely audible, "that you work for NASA." My wife and I exchanged glances as a knot formed in my stomach. "What exactly did she say?" my wife asked. He explained that during career day, students were sharing what their parents did for a living. When he said his dad worked on rockets at NASA, Mrs. Daniel told him that wasn't true and that he shouldn't make up stories for attention. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. "Did she say that in front of the class?" He nodded. "She said NASA people don't live here, that they're all in Florida or Houston." I felt anger rise in my chest, but didn't want to react too strongly in front of him. I reassured him that she was likely just unaware of JPL and that she had handled the situation poorly. I promised we would talk to her. The next morning, I sent an email requesting a meeting during parents' night. Mrs. Daniel replied politely, but with a dismissive tone, saying she'd be happy to clear up any misunderstandings from career day. My wife immediately decided to join me. "No way I'm missing this," she said as we got into the car that evening. We tried to stay calm, but we were both upset, not just by what was said, but by how it had affected our son. No 4th grader should be publicly humiliated for telling the truth. When we arrived, the classroom was decorated with a half-hearted space theme, planets dangling from the ceiling, a few solar system posters on the wall. Given the situation, it felt almost ironic. Mrs. Daniel, a woman in her mid-50s wearing a neatly pressed blouse and glasses on a chain, greeted us with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Thank you for coming," she said, gesturing to the tiny chairs in front of her desk. "I understand there was some confusion about career day." "Actually," I began, keeping my tone controlled, "I believe there was a misunderstanding on your part. Our son told you I work for NASA, and that is absolutely true." Her smile wavered slightly. "I've been teaching for nearly 30 years, she said. "Children often exaggerate, especially about exciting subjects. I encourage honesty." I nodded, reaching into my jacket. "I agree, and in this case, my son was completely honest." I handed her my NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory badge, which displayed the logo, my photo, and my job title. She examined it, frowning slightly. "JPL, that's part of NASA?" she asked. I thought NASA was only in Florida and Houston. I explained. NASA has centers all over the country. JPL is based in Pasadena, California, and managed by Caltech. We work on robotic missions, rovers, orbiters, spacecraft that explore deep space. She looked at the badge again, clearly taken aback. I wasn't aware of that, she admitted, but you have to understand why it seemed unlikely. My wife, who had been quiet until then, spoke firmly but calmly. What seems unlikely, she said, is that you called a child a liar in front of his entire class without even bothering to verify the facts. Mrs. Daniels' face reddened slightly. I wouldn't say I called him a liar. You told him not to lie for attention in front of an entire classroom. There's not much room for misinterpretation there, my wife stated. Mrs. Daniel looked down, visibly uncomfortable. After a moment of silence, she admitted, "You're right. I should have handled it differently. I apologize." My wife didn't hesitate. "We're not the ones who need an apology. Our son does." Mrs. Daniel nodded. "Of course. I'll speak to him tomorrow." I kept my voice steady but firm. A private apology isn't enough. You corrected him publicly, so the apology should be public too. Sitting across from me in the quiet classroom, her hands tightly clasped in her lap, Mrs. Daniel paled. She didn't respond immediately, then slowly nodded, her gaze downcast. "You're right," she whispered. "I made a mistake. I'll fix it." We discussed how she could approach it. I offered her a way forward. Not an easy one, but a fair one. A public apology in front of the class, with my son beside her, framed as a conversation rather than a confession. A learning opportunity. She hesitated but then nodded again. "Okay," she said. "I'll do it, and I'll mean it." As we were wrapping up, an idea came to me. I took a breath, considering it, then asked, "Would you be open to me coming in for a proper career day presentation? I could bring materials from JPL, a model, maybe some video clips. The kids might enjoy learning from someone directly involved." Her expression changed instantly. Her eyes lit up, whether with relief or hope, I couldn't tell. "That would be incredible," she said. "I think the students would love that." 2 weeks later, I stood in front of 25 eager fourth graders, my son front and center, looking as if he had been waiting for this moment his whole life. I had brought a NASA-approved model of the Perseverance rover, educational handouts about Mars, and high-definition footage of our missions, including landing sequences. The kids were electric with excitement, their hands shooting up after nearly every sentence. They wanted to know everything about Martian dust storms, how we control the rovers from Earth, whether we'd found signs of life, what kind of fuel rockets use, whether aliens exist, and just how vast the universe really is. But what truly struck me wasn't the scientific curiosity. It was the look on my son's face. He was radiant, eyes locked onto me, as if watching the stars come to life. That spark, that fierce pride, ignited something in me that I hadn't anticipated. His passion hadn't just survived his teacher's skepticism. It had grown stronger. Mrs. Daniel sat at the back of the room, hands folded, fully engaged. She took notes, even asked a few thoughtful questions. And in her expression, I saw something genuine. Real curiosity, real change. After the students had left, she approached me. "Thank you," she said quietly. "This was extraordinary. I made a serious mistake, and I've learned a lot. Not just about NASA, but about listening before judging. Your son taught me that, and so did you." Since that day, something in my son shifted. He became more confident, more expressive. He started jotting down notes to himself, missions, goals, ideas for inventions. Just last night, he told me he wants to work at JPL someday. Maybe I'll lead a mission to Europa, he said with a grin, as if it were already on his calendar. Whether or not that dream becomes reality isn't the point. What matters is that he knows it's possible, that his voice matters, that standing up for the truth, even when it's difficult, is something to be proud of. And to Mrs. Daniels' credit, she didn't stop there. She followed through. She planned an entire unit on space exploration for the following month and asked me to help review the materials. She arranged a virtual Q&A with one of our planetary scientists. She even mentioned she was considering taking a summer course on STEM education. I believed her. People can change. But the moment that truly stayed with me happened just a few days ago. I was late picking up my son from school. When I arrived, the classroom was empty, except for Mrs. Daniel and my son. She hadn't noticed me at first. They were looking at a solar system chart, and he was animatedly explaining Jupiter's moons, their orbits, their properties, speaking with precision like a young scientist. She listened closely, then leaned in and said, "You're going to do amazing things one day. You know that?" He looked up at her, his voice steady. "You do now," he said. "You're teaching me now." That's when she noticed me at the door. Our eyes met, and we exchanged a silent nod. Some moments don't need fanfare. All they need is the truth. As we left the school in the fading light of dusk, my son ran ahead along the walkway, arms outstretched like airplane wings. "Dad," he called out, "I already picked my project for the science fair. It's about Europa." I chuckled. "Then you'd better get started, Mission Command." His face lit up with excitement. "I'm gonna need help designing the lander." I smiled. "We'd better make sure it's strong enough to handle the ice." As we walked toward the car, I glanced up at the sky, feeling, for a brief moment, how vast and full of possibility the world truly is. I had arrived at that school, ready for a confrontation, carrying frustration and disappointment. But instead of conflict, I found an opportunity, a bridge. And sometimes, building bridges is just as meaningful as building rockets. Seeing a classroom full of fourth graders excited about space, that's a mission I'll always be proud to be part of.